6:04 on February 23rd. I'm calling the Finance Committee meeting to order. First things first, the meeting minutes from February 10th.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of the February 10th meeting.
Second.
Finance Committee.
Okay, any discussion, any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Karen,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we have to do roll call because Ted's remote.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
we have to do it roll call here even?
Yep.
Can't we say aye and then just do Ted?
Nope. Everybody's getting a roll call.
Okay.
Missy, aye.
Ross, aye.
Rashala, aye. Winika, aye.
Narwhal, aye.
Ted.
Mr. Purcell?
He's gotta find the unmute button. Give him a
Bottom left-hand corner.
Hey, Ted, you still with us, bud?
I am. I was looking for the revised budget.
Oh, no, okay, so you just gotta say aye.
Aye.
We're good.
For one.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay, so we have Michael Moriarty, who's the head of our Rutland Regional Emergency Communication Center, and he's here to present his budget for this evening. Michael.
So I'm gonna take you through the overall budget, and then I'm gonna break out Rutland's portion at the very end. So I'll just go page by page, with the packet that you guys received, which is this one here. You got that one?
It was electronically sent for an
Okay.
email.
Yeah, it didn't have a nice plastic spine and the plastic cover.
Oh, sorry.
On the fourth.
All right.
Well, that's the way it is, so I only got this one too.
Do you want to use my copy?
Yeah, someone can use mine, I got it.
You can use my copy, as long as he's got it. I mean,
I'll take yours.
I don't know,
You got it?
we haven't changed the budget on copy paper or copies, but we don't get any copies anymore. I think we can reduce that budget by quite a bit.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
All right, so page 2 is just the revision, changes. Next page that you'll see is the organizational chart for the department, which is myself, 3 supervisors, 6 full-time dispatchers, and between 2 to 4 part-time dispatchers. Moving on, page 4 just shows what we've been experiencing through the last year with staffing. We did have recently 3 resignations, full-time dispatchers. One left to become a full-time police officer in Lunenburg. The second gentleman left, I believe it was some kind of computer software engineer position, which is what he went to school for. And the last one, she stepped away due to hours and wanted to start her own business. Since then, we've hired 3 new employees to take over those positions. They're still in training, and hopefully soon we'll be done with the department's training program. Moving on. Page 5 shows some statistics with the 911 call volume. We did see an increase of about roughly 1,500 to 2,000 911 calls. Our CAD calls, which are calls that are entered into our system that either the fire department, police department call in, did go down a little bit, but the call volume is still increasing each year. Page 6, so the overall summary of the budget. As you can see, purchase services is at $179,976. Supplies and uniforms was level funded at $7,000. Other expenses is at $247,977.59, which is an increase of $20,000, roughly. And then the wages went up to $898,649,052, which is an increase of $77,000, which is an overall increase to the overall dispatch budget of $111,598.76.
This is what my book says, so
Yep,
did our books get updated then? Or is there a change I'm gonna see somewhere else?
you'll see a change on this sheet here, the other sheet that you have.
The
which
first
is
one.
The first one, yes.
What's that, Ted? What's that?
The first one?
No,
That's the
The
overall.
green one, it's Rutland Safety Dispatch.
why can't I find it?
Yeah, your actually summary budget sheet, which shows wages at
I think I just saw it, right,
317,000 or 328,000.
right there.
I'll take it.
Yeah, yours says public, mine says Rutland, same thing.
Yeah, so you'll see the changes at the very end there on that, this
Okay.
sheet here.
All right,
So I got a question,
Yes, sir,
just for a moment here.
yes.
So what you just went through with all those increases,
Yep,
are you gonna go into those next?
yes. Yeah, I'm gonna break them all down
Okay.
in depth, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Just wanted to give the overall
Yep,
summary
yep,
at the
that's fine.
beginning. So moving on to page 7, which jumps right into the purchase services line item, which I believe that was the one that went up 26,000. So going through those, I'll hit the ones that either went up or down in changes. The first line, which is the Department Cellular Services, that went up due to an additional line that was activated for my laptop to provide services remotely. It's just an air card. It's an additional air card for the department so I can access the radio system, computer system remotely whenever need be. Moving on, the next line item, which is the big one, which is 5200-03 radio equipment maintenance and service contract. So the big increase there is due to the AvTech radio system that we had funded through the state 911 department, which is our new radio consoles. It's the way we communicate with all our first responders. That was purchased and funded by the state 911 department and came with a, I believe it was a 2-year service agreement with AvTech. That has since now has lapsed, and we now have to pick up that service agreement. What that allows is a certified technician that we have on call can access that system, make any repairs, upgrades, allows them to call AvTech and have AvTech personnel log into our system and diagnose any kind of issues that are occurring with our system, which we had to utilize already 3 to 4 times already.
so is this a, oh, excuse me, okay, I'll let you go, then I get some questions.
Yep.
No, I have a question now.
Yep.
So now,
Right.
this is the overall dispatch budget.
You gave up your time? You yielded to him?
You
I'll let my
deferred.
dad go for me.
I think if I can slide in ahead of you, it's pretty
Okay,
good.
go ahead, buddy.
This is the overall dispatch budget, not just Rutland's portion.
Right.
So these increases are divided out proportionally to the,
5
Towns.
yes,
Okay.
to the 5
All right.
communities. Yes, correct. Do you wanna?
Yeah, so the state helped us buy
no
this.
questions till
Yes.
the end of the.
Hold your question.
The state helped us buy it,
Yep. Which was 200, roughly $245,000 to $250,000.
and then now that we own it and
Yep.
and the money grants are gone, it's 20 grand. So is that something that's gonna, is that a fixed number for all the services over the year? Or is that, Michael, gonna maybe go up higher than 20,200?
So that,
It'll go up every year.
that
No. This, how about, what if they run their allotment out in 9 months? Does that number go up? Or is that for a year?
That's for a year.
That's
for
No
the
matter
entire
what
year.
you do for
Yep.
a year?
That's a
Yep.
contract
That's a
amount.
contract.
Whether you call once or you call a million,
Yes,
it's the same
exactly.
price.
Yep. Yeah, the only way that'll only go up next year if AvTech decides to raise that service contract up higher. That's
When
the only-
AvTech decides to change.
Pretty much, yes.
But,
But yes.
so they don't, the state won't give us any funding to support
Not for-
this system that they thought was so magnificent at the time?
Well, it replaced a aging.
I'm not saying it's bad, but the
No,
state helped you
nope.
buy it.
Yep,
And then like everything else the state does,
Service
they drop the
contracts,
bomb on
yeah.
us and then you were kinda stuck with it later.
yeah,
Okay.
once I give you that,
Like a lot of grants are like that too,
Yeah.
so,
They fall off after a few
Yep.
years, unfortunately.
unfortunately.
unfortunately, they won't cover service contracts.
Are you happy with it?
Oh, I'm more than happy. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
And
yeah.
these guys are responsive, these
Yep.
AFTEC people?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Alright, what did I leave off? I believe that was everything in there.
Yep.
Yep. So moving on, the next one would be the 5200-04, Internet and VoIP Services. That line was reduced by $673.20 due to new pricing that came from Crocker. Some discounts, I guess.
Crocker is.
Crocker Communications is our phone service provider
Okay,
for
great.
the dispatch center as
Okay.
well as the town.
Okay.
Then the next line notable would be 5200-10, which is TriTech Services. This is the department's CAD system, which holds all the records for the police, fire department, and dispatch center. That again has their 5% increase that continues to rise each year and becomes more and more expensive. Currently, I am looking at reducing that number by, again, applying for a state grant to replace the system entirely with a new company that can provide a more versatile system for the day and age that we're in right now, with a guaranteed of no increases over the next 5 years. I had some conversations with a couple vendors already. There is one or two that will be able to provide that, so that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm applying for that grant this year, and hopefully we'll find out in the next couple months if we receive that, so I can reduce that line down even more. Moving on to the next page. Actually, I think that's it for purchase services, I believe. Yep, that's all the increases. Before I move on to the next line item, any other questions? All right. So the next page will break down the wages for the department. Starting with the first one, which is the director's salary, that was has a 2% increase added to that. That contract is still in negotiations, but that is the placeholder, or 2% as of right now. Let's see. The next one, which is a new position that still has to go before the board. Go ahead.
So, this is the question to Ron. The 70,000 fully loaded, or is it just salary?
That's just salary. My next line item will have,
So you've
The
accounted,
benefits.
you've accounted for everything associated.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
different, it's a little different than the town side, because the town does it, the town side. In the regular town budget, there's a healthcare account, that's where it's loaded. In his, it's a little different because he's a regional dispatch.
Right.
But yes, it's loaded in his budget, but different than the town line.
Got it.
So all these
Or
are,
without benefits, without Medicare.
yes.
This is just their salary,
This-
that's it.
yes.
So you have a healthcare line.
Yep,
It's not-
that's-
He does, that's the next one on the
It's a
direct
separate-
charges.
It's a separate total for the whole area.
Yep.
yep, okay,
Yep, so yeah, again, just salaries. So again, 92,000 for the director's salary, that has the 2% increase. The next line would be the deputy director's salary at 70,000, which is a new position that still has to be approved by the board, which will be going before them, hopefully in the next meeting,
Which board?
the board of selectmen,
So,
to approve a new position,
so this could change again.
which already this fiscal year, the state has given us money to add that position.
So to be clear here, the issue here is that, remember the SAFER grant, because I want to use that as an example, it's sort of like the SAFER grant. right?
Okay,
But different.
He's expecting, different grant, but same concept. He's expecting to get that position fully funded for the next couple of years, but then eventually the town will have to pick up, the district will have to pick up that cost. Is that accurate? Did I say that correctly?
No, let me
Say it
correct
accurate,
that a
okay.
little bit.
Yeah.
So the way my grants run different from the SAFER grant, where when you apply for the SAFER grant, you apply for 3 or 5 years or whatever, and then you receive that money and you have that person for 3 years fully paid, and then come year 3, you have to worry about paying for that.
Yeah.
The way I do it is I budget for it, apply for the grant, and then if that money comes in, it's being reimbursed. So like my director salary for this fiscal year, I put that in the budget, applied for it in a grant, and we received the whole 92,000. So at the end of this year, not 92, sorry, let me correct that, 90,000. The $90,000 is being funded by the state, no longer by the department.
So that flows through to free cash.
Yes. As well as the deputy director's position was applied for as well this year, which they gave us a amount of, I believe it was 35,000, a prorated amount for this year already to start this position, which would pick up the costs that are needed to promote someone to that position for this year. This year going forward, I'm applying again for my salary as well as the deputy directors. Both those salaries are in here already, but if the grant is awarded, it's just free cash at the end. So that's kind of how mine works. It's in here. I'm not relying totally on the grant, so it doesn't technically fall off. The numbers are there. You're seeing the true numbers throughout. You just receive.
So let me be clear, what if the state doesn't give you the grant for the deputy position?
The numbers are already in the
The
budget.
numbers are already in the
They're
budget.
already in the budget, so
So
it's
it's
not a
distributed
shock.
among all the towns anyway, so it's already here.
Yep.
But if the state gives you a number, it falls in the free cash. But you've already budgeted the expense side of that, and
Exactly.
that'll be divided among all the 4 towns.
That's what he's been doing with his salary since
Okay.
he's.
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure I understood that as well.
Yep.
If the whole expense is already in here. Because at some point, if it wasn't, that
It would
expense
fall
would fall off.
off. Yes,
But the way he's doing it,
it's always
It's all
there.
there.
Good.
Yeah.
But the way it looks to me here, what you've
Yep.
got is you're putting that position in, but you're taking one of the next positions out
Correct.
to swap it, so it's,
Yeah, so currently right now, I have 3 working supervisors, one that works the day shift, then you have one that works 3 to 11, and then one that works the overnight. This deputy director would technically be working during the day, so there's no need for a deputy director and a supervisor to be working during the day at the same time. The deputy director will be tasked with 90% administrative work to assist myself, but in times that person will be tasked with operational work in the desk from time to time. So there's no need for 2, what do you want to say, administrators or supervisors to be working the same shift. So that's why we took away the day shift supervisor and replaced it with that deputy director. And that's why you see in the next line item, there's a $74,000 decrease
Yeah.
to that line.
But how, if it's 70 above, it's 74,
It's a reduce. Technically, it's a promotion, but their salary is being reduced
But-
from what they're technically making. So they're making less than what they would as a supervisor. But
but
as a
you,
deputy director, you get other.
but the line above it, you say 70 grand. I'm just
Yep.
trying to figure out, and down there, you're taking out 74.
That's what he just said.
Yeah.
That the person that gets promoted will actually be making less money than being a dispatcher.
Yep.
Taking the deputy directorship. There's other benefits of being the deputy director versus being one of the supervisors. Such
Really?
as probably no weekends.
No holidays.
And no holidays.
Not being forced over or.
But the
forced
numbers
in.
should still match.
no, because
No.
if
No,
that,
'cause they're
or if that
taking-
person's
taking
just
a cut.
starting out,
They're taking a
too,
cut.
Taking a cut and pay.
Okay.
Entry level.
So let me make sure I understand too, because we talked about this, I want to make it clear. So we're not eliminating a dispatcher position, you're taking your supervisor position, you're taking away that role, you're putting it into the new deputy's position. And then you're starting a new dispatcher at the lower level. So it's not, you're still picking up one full position, so everybody
Right.
understands that, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
the salary of the incoming dispatcher is lower because it's not supervisor role, just to be clear.
Yep.
All right. Where was I? What line was I on?
5110-001.
That's the deputy director, so I think I just hit
Yep.
that one.
So now you said here, you've done salary increases in steps?
Yep. So step increases, so
Yeah.
that includes that with all the dispatches as well.
So how does it get to 13%? I thought our town administrator was bargaining 2%.
Yeah, but this is probably an existing agreement that's not new.
First of all, it is an existing agreement, it's not new.
Right.
Right.
But
So
that-
they're getting
still
a
has to-
13% increase this year?
No, that's overall.
Right.
So the full-timers, that's the overall increase to the whole full-timers line item. Their increase, I believe, was a either a 1 or 2 this last year, because they're on the final year of their contract. And I do have that right here, hold on 1 second.
I guess I'm wondering, how does it get a 2% go to 13%?
Because of steps.
Yes.
So it's not 2% then?
Well, 2% is just a COLA,
The goal.
but there's steps built in as well.
Right.
So they're getting a 13% raise?
Right. That's right.
Is it?
Not all of them, some of them are getting steps, others,
but-
and they're COLA, and others of them are just getting COLA, I'm
But the
sure.
raises.
But my
equal
concern is,
13.
we're not giving steps to anybody else.
Yes, we are, all the unions are getting steps. Just the non-union people didn't get steps.
Oh, okay,
All the contracted positions, you have to do the steps.
okay,
The only people that got burned on the steps in theory were the non-union people.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, so let's go back again, because Darren's got a little stumble point here.
Yep, that's okay,
Okay.
because I'm with you, so go ahead.
If you took the high and the low, the average is 13%, they're getting a raise this next year. Am I wrong in saying that?
Overall,
Counting the
Yeah,
steps.
but
Right.
some people are getting more than 13,
right,
and some people are getting,
yes, less.
and we think that's okay?
It's written into the union contract that was signed,
Right.
So,
and you know how contracts are, it's stuck.
so let me explain it a little bit there, Lou.
Well, you don't have to explain it, I'm just saying, you,
I do want to explain this because this was this was negotiated before I came in, but there was a big problem, as I understand it, listening about the history of this, is that the dispatchers were, in comparison to dispatchers all across the state, were low.
and
So there was an
we
attempt-
definitely agree with that.
So there was an attempt by the former town administrator to bring them up more level with state thing, more with other dispatchers. So the standard increase usually is, as you say, a COLA is usually around 2 to 3%, that's where they are. A step increase generally is around 5%, okay? But they got, I think it, Mike, you can explain because you were here,
Yep.
they got a salary adjustment based upon the fact that they were lower than everybody else. That's how it came into that increase impact. That's my understanding. Now, I'm not sure I would have done it that way, but that's what I understand happened.
Okay.
Well, we had a lot of turnover there for a long time.
Same is true, the police department had the same
Right,
issue.
so we wanted to keep the good people, so you weren't having to train all the time.
Oh, and I understand that, but
Yep.
the reality is, no
Yep.
matter however we say it,
Yep.
it's still a pretty good.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a
Oops.
big bump to get people up to where they should have been. And there's still positions in town that are underpaid for the positions that are involved.
And that's good, but,
Mhm.
you know,
Not just, you know,
Yep.
not just by me explaining, that's all.
no, and I mean, the next one's 17%, so there was highs and lows, right?
Yeah, because some people don't get steps, in theory, right? Not everybody was entitled to a step.
But
Right.
on average,
But
it was
the-
17%.
Yeah.
I'd love
Is
to.
that the third year of the contract?
Yes, this is the last
Yeah,
year.
that's right, except for the.
Wouldn't that be nice to
No,
know
no,
the social
he's
security
talking
pension
about-
You wanna go backwards a little bit.
Yeah, right.
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 The part-timers
We've
were
already
the
done
Yes.
another
same.
one that was quite
This
a
went
Full-time
up,
still went up by
this
13,
went up
huh?
17%.
increase.
Full-time went up by 13.
But anyways.
Yeah,
It's a
That's-
union contract, guys.
between these
We
two.
can argue about all this
Well,
all
no,
day.
no, I'm just saying,
But we're
So we're
stuck.
stuck with that increase years, not.
And the three that they're negotiating, the only good news is we have a select person here who can listen to the importance of keeping the costs
kinda
low.
where I'm
Yeah.
going with this
Yeah.
eventually.
So they went up 13%.
It's just crazy.
Part-timers.
You wonder why they leave.
I'm known for second hands.
That's still well
We,
above the.
When you try to be
and,
nice.
but it's good
Right,
for the goose and
right.
for the gander,
I
and
agree
they
with
get,
that.
and that's why I said the high and the low is 13% or 17%, so the other
Right.
employees in town should be, all right,
Well,
we'll get there eventually.
the-
I'm not
so-
arguing this, and I'm not, the dispatchers do a great job and a great service for the town.
Correct.
What I'm saying is, there's a lot of other people behind me that aren't gonna get 13 or 17% this year,
You're
Which is-
absolutely correct.
which is not right. And I'm not begrudging that this, God bless them all,
Well,
but that's not fair.
well, truthfully, there's positions now that are underfunded to what the salary should be. But the positions funded between different unions and different groups depend more on what the market pays than some arbitrary increase. So dispatcher salaries have, the responsibility of dispatchers on a statewide basis have increased dramatically over the last number of years. So you can't say that, you know, the DPW workers should have went up by the same pace as dispatchers. The market's just not like that. This market, you know,
I don't
so
think,
it's
I'm not saying
competitive in the way you're describing it.
DPW workers are union contracted employees.
Yep.
Where I'm going is the non-union contracted employees aren't going up at the same rate, that's all.
That's correct. That's
Correct.
great. But again, that would be variable, maybe not at
There's
13.
remedies there.
And that's even more,
There are remedies there, and those folks are gonna affect those remedies themselves.
and truthfully, that is a
They can't.
position by position discussion of the $9, because they're all different.
Yes. Okay, sorry.
That's a good point. It's a good point, and it's something that I had a lot of
Yeah.
pondering about.
I'm just laughing because it's just, I'm gonna keep giving you sugar because you bring up a lot of, I'll bring you sugar every week.
Let's move on, let's move on.
If we had a bottle, we could hang it.
Alright, we went sideways, yeah, let's see.
No, and I don't wanna be any way misconstrued that I think that the dispatchers are overpaid. I think they're paid fairly.
Right.
Probably in most cases, they're
Sure.
underpaid, but I just think that it's
Yep.
everybody.
You weren't
That's all. And I
misconstrued.
don't want,
very
Mike,
good
I don't
point.
want you to feel that way by any means.
Nope.
That's not
Nope,
what I'm, my
I didn't
point.
think that way. Alright, so I believe we were on.
We were on the 13% line.
Is that where we left off? Okay.
Yeah, we're going- it's going up. It's
So-
going up.
So full-time dispatchers, that includes the step increases per the CBA. From there, part-time dispatchers, I increased that line by 4,000 to add on another part-timer, not add on, fill a vacant part-time position that we had there, which overall will help alleviate some of the overtime in the long run. More time. The more I can have the part-timers picking up the overtime is at a drastically lower rate of pay, which right now I believe is $19.65, I believe, where I believe entry-level dispatcher is around 25. So anytime I can have a part-timer work, any overtime, holiday, or any vacancies, it does help the budget.
It's a savings, yeah.
Yep. And moving on, the overtime includes holidays, as well as vacation, covering sick. All that is factored into that one line item. So that did increase due to some of the employees reaching their benchmarks of receiving more vacation time, going from 2 to 3 or 4 weeks, as well as the average sick time being utilized within the department. That's where that increase came from.
CTO, is that Chief Technology Officer?
Nope, that's Communication Training Officer.
Thank you.
Where was that?
It's down here under overtime.
Oh, there it is, yep. Yeah, and it includes CTO stipends, which is, I have 3 training officers. They receive additional training to train all our new employees. They handle the whole department's training program. And I believe that just went up. So each stipend is 1,000, so that's ultimately 3,000 right there for stipends.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next page, which is
Indirect charges.
indirect charges, which houses the health insurance, dental, Medicare, the Worcester County retirement charges, as well as the facility operations, our portion of it, as well as the fixed costs. So level funded all the way down to 57,004, which is the health insurance line, which it went from 101,000 up to 108,000, an increase of roughly $7,700 dollars. That's with the 7.5% projected increase from Blue Cross. Moving down, dental did not increase. Stayed level funded. Flexible insurance, that went up due to the amount of employees taking advantage of that portion.
What is flex insurance?
That's,
FSA?
Yeah.
That doesn't help me.
Flexible spending account.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
thank you.
I'm like, what does FSA stand for? I had to think about that one for a minute, sorry. I'm so used to,
The health
you
savings,
know.
right? It's the health savings, it's the health savings account
Yeah.
for like co-pays. and
Co-pays and all that stuff,
Yep,
yeah.
okay.
Basic life stayed level funded. Medicare did go up about roughly $900. And then the Worcester County retirement went up 11,000. So this is the other portion of our employees. So this is all the benefits side of it. Next page is the supplies and uniforms account for the department, level funded again this year. No changes there. And then the next page is the operating budget summary. This could get a little confusing. I hope I can keep us all right in line here. But you'll see FY22, that column there, that was last year's, so those are all your last year's figures, starting from the top, which we talked about, purchase services, supplies, the indirect, and the wages, which last year came to 1.2 million overall for the overall budget. Right below that, you'll see the state 911 grants that we receive, which last year we received $490,000 from the state 911 department, which offsets the budget. And then that bottom number, the $719,247.31 was the total amount that needed to be assessed out to the 5 communities. So that's what the additional revenues come from at that point.
So your 490,672 for FY23, that's, you're assuming that to be,
Did that one not change? Oh, so that one's not changed.
okay, no, it's the same number.
Yeah, but yeah, the updated one that I sent has a
Oh.
new number.
Okay.
So
All right.
I'll run down that one right
Yeah,
now.
if you would.
So the next column, FY23. So the overall budget is 1.3 million this year. But moving down to the next column, as we just found out that those figures on your sheet are incorrect. So the E911 support and incentive grant line, that number is not 465. It's actually $514,873. Oh, is that correct? Oh, so it's just
That's
his
in your
book.
new
Okay.
presentation, that's in your new budget.
Okay, so that's that line. The line right below it is $25,000, bringing the total amount to $539,873 coming from the state 911 department and grant funding.
You're hoping.
Oh, nope, that's
That's
already
guaranteed.
Guaranteed, yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep. So we already received those numbers.
Great.
Which you take that number and minus that from the overall budget, bringing it down to $781,645.07, which brings it to a total increase of $62,397.76 for the budget. So that number has to be assessed out to the 5 communities, which is the next table that you see below there, which goes off a population-based formula. So depending on what the population is the percentage of that assessment you're going to get. So FY23, you'll see that there's 2 columns. The first one was the original column that everyone was going to be assessed on the 781. But Dan Haynes told me that we had a surplus for FY21, so in the IMA signed by the 5 communities, that has to be put into the budget to offset those assessments. So there's an additional $50,521 that was being proportioned out. So that's why you see 2 columns. The original one was the 781, but the new column that we're assessing off of is $731,124.
I'll be happy about that.
So that's the new number. So in that last column, the FY23 adjusted, those are, so the town of Rutland's assessment is $274,470.47. Compared to last year was $269,070.42.
So does the distribution, I know it's on population,
Yep.
but does it relate to activity, to calls?
No,
It doesn't?
no, that was discussed by the 5 communities at one point, where all the stakeholders were in agreement not to utilize population and call stats, because it's not a stable number that you could go off, where if you did do stats-wise, Rutland could skyrocket one year
Right.
and then come way down next year,
Exactly.
and it's just, it's just unpredictable.
It's more, this is more predictable, I
Yes,
guess.
exactly, yep. The population has changed just minor over the
Mhm.
last couple of years,
Mhm.
but most of them are rising, so. So ultimately, the percentage increase for Rutland is a 2% overall for their assessment.
That's better than the school number.
Some of the
9% I'm getting.
Some of the communities are getting a little bit better, where Hubbardston is a negative 1%, and
Oh,
Warren
I love
is
that.
0%, so no increase there. Ocam does have the highest increase of 8%. It's just the way it worked, I guess.
Did, do we plan on getting more towns in there?
It's something that I'm looking at. There's a couple communities that some preliminary, just open discussion, nothing really concrete. But ultimately, we need to find new space. We can't do much more in the space that we have. We are very confined.
So right now, we're at the max with these 5 towns.
I could
Space-wise.
say a community like Paxton, which they're already with another regional center, but that size and that call volume, that's something we could probably work into the center, but ultimately around us right now, there's no more Paxtons around. You're looking at, like, say, Gardner, which they're running 4 to 5 people on shift at a time. We're running 2 to 3, so the space needed is drastic. We can't really take much on. I did have some talks with the director and deputy director of the State 911 Department. If there was some interest in multiple communities coming in, there would be the possibility of the State 911 Department funding the construction of a new building for us, fully funded. So it wouldn't be, nothing would be taxed on the 5, 6, 7.
We did construction in the building that Ron's in,
Mhm.
because at one point, that's where you guys were gonna move.
Yes.
That's been thrown out the window?
No, definitely not thrown out the
Okay.
window. No, no.
Because I remember we had to do some construction and move stuff around to make it easier for when that move
Yeah, which
was
the-
necessary.
You're gonna take over our building?
That was,
I'm thinking, where the hell would you go, or where would we go? That's
Why do you think
That's
we
where
bought
you would
those
go.
shipping
I
containers?
don't know, I don't know.
That
We're
and
gonna-
a little
we're gonna work in
kerosene
the-
heater, you'll be fine.
I'll be good, yeah. I'm thinking,
The
where
plan
would
that-
we go?
the plan that the previous Mike Nicholson had was moving all town departments into the town hall, renovating the
You'd
town
have to have
hall.
an elevator, you'd have to have all
Exactly.
kinds of things.
Which that was a whole process that he
Like I
was.
said, that was a whole big
Yes.
overall plan of a whole
Yes,
bunch of
Yes,
They
things.
oh,
started,
yes,
yeah.
but I just
Well,
remember,
what, I don't understand, what, you said there was work done there for the dispatch.
No,
There
not
was
for the dispatch center, but there was some stuff that needed to get done in preparation, and it was,
Well, it was just, that was, what I understand, that was just maintenance that had to be done anyways, no matter who moved it.
no, there was some stuff that had to get done, I don't remember rightly right now,
The
but
only
there
thing
was
that went
some.
over there, you might have some communications cables going between, behind the buildings.
No, there was some stuff that needed to be done with full walls going up, because there weren't full walls and all that kind of stuff, but
That
that
was
was,
the departments over there. I don't believe
Yeah, I
that's
don't know.
the case,
I-
but whatever. Doesn't
But
make
yeah,
a difference.
ultimately, that was the plan, was to possibly move into the annex
Correct.
if that could happen, which that would give us the space that we needed, because right now we have 4 consoles. That could increase us to 12 to 13 consoles by moving into that facility.
So Mike, are there any towns around the area that are not serviced by regional dispatch?
So directly around us,
Yeah.
you have, the closest one would be Spencer, Gardner, Westminster.
But they're not geographically
They're not
close
touching
enough.
Rutland.
Right.
No, they
Neither
are,
is
they are
Warren.
close because
Gardner.
Warren is one of our communities and they don't even, they're about 20 to 30 miles.
Okay. So it doesn't have to
So,
be.
doesn't have to touch us.
Okay.
We can grab Essex if we
All
wanted
right,
to
so,
grab Essex.
and the only reason I
Essex,
asked the
yeah.
question was because if they're already in a regional service,
Yep.
what would cause them to leave and come to us?
The state doesn't really,
But if they're
back
not,
that. Yeah, they don't, if they're not with one, the state is actually kind of
Pushing.
pushing the communities to do it.
Sure.
Because the regional centers are getting the majority of the state funding. They're slowly decreasing the single communities, grant funding
Right.
to make them move to a regional
it's
center.
gotta be more efficient to do it.
More efficient, less costly for
Right.
the state 911 department, less equipment that they have to have statewide. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
So the state kinda solicits for you guys too, the way you should kinda say.
Pretty much to reach out to people and try to pull in other communities, correct, yep. Yep. So that's the overall budget. I can update you on, I don't know what you call this sheet, but, the
We're
towns.
gonna- In the future, what we're gonna do
that
is
would-
we're gonna put the Rutland budget in the presentation. 'Cause it's not in the presentation, and truthfully, it led even me to be confused by the presentation without that piece in. So next year, the Rutland budget, which is the one you get in your budget books with the Rutland piece, we'll put that in the budget presentation, so you can see the whole budget, and then you can see the Rutland component. Okay?
Yep, so looking at that sheet on the FY23 requested, it should read, the first line, 92,000. The second line, which is the dispatch wages, should actually read $353,691.48.
So let me comment about that. So the sheet that I gave you guys with the differences, that's gotta be added to that sheet. Under dispatch, it's under wages, it's line specifically, you don't have to write it down now, I'll update it. It would be line 333, the amount of the TA budget is 407,978. The change will go to 353,692, which is a difference of 54,287 positive for us, okay? And I'll give you that in the next updated sheet as we do it.
Would you, next, for tomorrow, could you give us we can just throw it in?
This one?
Do you have time?
Yeah, well,
I
that,
can have it.
oh, that
I
one?
can have it. This one you're talking
Your new
about?
updated sheet, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sheet,
Yeah.
yes. And this I'm gonna give you as it kinda gets updated. Me and Karen will
No,
just.
but if we could get the new updated one, we
Yeah,
can throw it in
he'll-
tomorrow night. We'll
he'll
be
send it
here.
up, yep.
Yep, I'll
We'll
send
set
it
it
up
up.
tonight.
All right, thank you.
At some point, you're
Even
gonna,
if you send it out tomorrow morning, I'll make sure that I make copies for everybody, it's not a problem.
Well,
I can
Ron's
make-
gonna copy it too.
yeah, we'll just, we'll look at it.
Yeah, but I don't mind getting it out so that we have it.
Michael send it out to you electronically first of all. right?
Yes.
And-
We don't, I just want paper. I'm fine with that. I want
And
paper.
Me too.
So at some point, once this list is up, you'll vote line by line to make the changes and have the actual vote.
Right.
Because you could, in theory, tonight, vote for the change. Or you can just wait till we do all the changes and then just vote them all at once. It's easier, I think, to vote them all at once.
That last sheet we just saw has basically what we're talking about, the number's gonna be, right?
He just gave it to you.
No,
The sheet
no,
was
I'm saying the
indicated.
one that was sent, where it was a 2% difference of the assessment.
It's different because Rutland funds.
Oh, no, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, but our overall
Right, yes.
cost is that one.
Correct, correct.
Right.
Yeah,
In this book now, the only
but
number
these,
that gets changed until they gives you the update is the 407,977 gets changed to 353,692.
Okay.
That's the only change he's talking about. And I'll give you the updated sheet so you have it.
Yep.
And it'll be added to our change.
Now, you gotta pay for all the expenses because the Rutland employees,
right.
and then you get reimbursed for them. So,
Right.
but that's what it comes out to,
Yep.
when you put it in the
Yep.
wash, it's all
Exactly,
done.
yep.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so that was, the only change was the wages, and the total down at the bottom, goes from 686, down to 632, 667 and 48 cents.
So
So that's the Rutland's portion, that's the overall budget.
Awesome.
just as an overall, guys, so right now, this sheet of changes is going good for us in a positive direction,
Yeah, it
right?
is.
It's early.
So, it's early yet, there'll be some negative sides too as we go along. But hopefully at the end of this, we can use some of this money to reduce our reliance on free cash. And then, we can also look at, I'll give you an example, maybe getting some part-time people for DPW to actually fix our fields and take care of our fields in the summer. But we'll have to decide what the priorities are once we
It
get.
opens up
I
things.
know, yeah, it
About the
opens up some
road.
discussion now.
Before we fix the fields, let's fix the road.
Well, roads is a totally different issue, but that's the kind of discussion we can have as one thing, yeah.
TPW's tomorrow night.
Yeah. So that's it, Madam Chairman. If you have any questions, we'll take them.
No, I think we're good.
So, Ron, you're gonna be here tomorrow, I know you had a,
Yeah, so here's what's gonna happen tomorrow night, because Joe Buckley's doing his budget tomorrow night.
Right.
And Joe's very aware of his budget to present his budget to you.
Right.
I wanna be here. At the same time, 6:30, Capital Improvement Committee's meeting.
yeah,
I wanna get over there because I wanna talk about this potential bond package that I've been talking about with capital items.
yeah.
So I wanna go over and meet with them, so I'll be here till 6:30. At that point, Joe will continue. I don't think there's much changing in Joe's budget, although there's some things we can later discuss if we have extra money.
Well, we got snow coming on Friday,
Well, we're
so.
gonna, and one thing we do definitely
trying
know
to
is
type
we're
something
already
here
running a
and
snow
can't.
deficit for this year, right?
So
So,
this,
right now, there's a little, I think around $240,000 of free cash that's left that we didn't appropriate. One is because we knew snow and ice was gonna be an issue,
Sure.
right? But there are a couple of items that we're gonna probably have to budget for free cash. The lease of a police car is not in the police budget, I pulled it out. That's, I wanna say 15 or 17 grand, some amount. And then the equipment that the fire guys use, the whole gear,
Yeah.
instead of taking it out of the budget,
Yeah,
taking it
yeah,
out of free
yeah.
cash. That's another 20-something grand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
took
The
a
other
while.
issue that potentially is something we're gonna have to deal with is the backside of the roof on the Woodhouse building.
Thank you. That's
That may
excellent.
be another item. But between those three items and dealing with snow and ice, that may eat up the rest of our free cash.
Okay.
Because you remember, of that free cash, we need 100, well, right now, we need 125 for this budget.
Right.
But if we lower this number, then we may not need that whole 100, we may be able to, you know?
Yeah.
So we gotta see how this all plays out.
We have snow and ice. Ted, you had a question?
I did.
Okay?
I wanna go back and pick at that scab that Darren was picking at before. Um,
Go ahead, Ted.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
the step increases, are they all contractual?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to double check that, thank you.
So you understand where I was going with it then, Ted, right?
Oh, you're gonna potentially have to explain that for hours on end at a meeting, potentially. Yeah,
So, Ted, just to be clear, every DPW, police, fire, dispatch, and police is divided into two unions, one sergeants, one patrol. Those are all union contracts that are all negotiated and binding. Then you have a number of department heads that are contracted in basis. So the police chief is contracted, DPW director is contracted, Mike is contracted. They have, the treasurer's contracted. And then we have a series of department heads that are not contracted. And then we have the non-union, which is mostly clerical staff. Those are the people that have really been impacted in a bad way, because over the years, we've had to take care of the contracts, but the non-union people have taken the brunt of some hits. So that's something that, as I said, and you'll see it when we get to the selectmen's budget, you're gonna see a line item I put in the budget for, I forget, 15 grand, so that Carol, Benoit, and Leah can do something for steps for the people who didn't get steps, that should have got steps, and we'll see what plan they come out with, but at least there's some money there to adjust for that. In this budget, all the departments, the contracts and all the employees are budgeted at 2% COLA, which means that I've got 4 union contracts to negotiate. They won't be the kind of contracts that he's referring to in the past where the raises are more than significant to make up. But a big part of the pressure on me is gonna be, whatever happens the first year, it can't be more than 2%, because we don't have money right now in the budget unless we use some extra money here. And then if any more than 2% is given, we'll have to do it in the second and third years, right? Because I don't have any money in this budget, or we may have to adjust some in this budget for raises, but that's all discussions of contract negotiations.
It's typically how it works,
Yeah.
is it's low the first and then they just hit us
The
later on.
issue here,
Kick the can down the road. It'll
One
get
of the-
better.
But then you hammer it in those next 2 years.
I agree.
That you're gonna meet that number.
I agree, but
I thought I
that's,
remember a town administrator saying he was gonna go 2, 2, and 2.
that's
Well,
what.
that's your goal.
That's the goal,
That's
right, and that's why it's
I mean,
2% of
you
the
can
budget.
do it.
Now, if you do it or not, part of, I'll tell you one of the problems is, and I'm gonna talk in generalities, because I can't talk about specific contract
Understood.
negotiations. But one of the problems right now, quite frankly, there's two big problems. One is that we have the ARPA funds, and the unions are making a big push to try to get money from those ARPA funds for bonuses or in increasing wages, and that's a statewide push. The unions feel that we got this money from ARPA, and the ARPA fund can be used for giving bonuses, and they're all trying to get a piece of it. That's one thing.
Opera is.
ARPA, oh, I'm sorry, it's
pay
it's the
attention
American
guys, because
Rescue
we're gonna
Funds.
go after that in our budget.
The American Rescue Funds is a federal grant money that came down
Okay, all right,
for all the whole COVID-19 thing.
Yep.
And we got,
okay.
the town got like $2 million of money for
Over
that.
3 years,
Over 5 years, I think it is.
5 years.
And that money is designed under certain buckets. One of the big buckets that we will be using is infrastructure for water sewer.
Okay.
That's a capable use for it. One of the buckets says bonuses for essential town workers, which now they define to be everybody. But that's another bucket, right?
We can get some.
You have to be a paid employee, but for those.
We can be
for
paid
those
at the
buckets-
bonus.
For those buckets.
We haven't gotten steps
But
in a while,
it's getting
so.
very controversial statewide because the unions are trying to get a piece of that money, okay? And that's something that's in constant discussion now with attorneys and everything else. But that is one of the things that could have an impact, that unions could think about going to arbitration because they think that they can somehow get a piece of that money. The other big factor for contract negotiations is inflation. As we all know, inflation is running at a ridiculous rate right now, right? 7-8%.
Yeah.
And the unions are going, you give me a 2% raise, I'm going backwards by 7% or whatever it is, right?
Like the rest of
And
them.
that's a case, but that's a case they can make to the arbitrators, and the arbitrators could argue, well, yep,
Correct.
So there's a lot of bad things kind of going against us towards negotiation. And some of the unions might actually want to go to arbitration, because then, if I say you're gonna get a 2% raise, they say, well, screw you, I think I can do better at the arbitrator, right? That's gonna be one of the problems we're gonna have this year, is that they might think they can do better at arbitration than they can do with me. If that's true or not, we don't know, because the arbitrators, up until recently, 2% has been pretty much the norm, between 2 and 2.5%.
So they're not gonna do any worse.
But the feeling is, going forward, because of inflation, that the arbitrators might jump that up, and that's the scare. When you go to arbitration, it's out of your hands, they give you whatever they do. So just to give you kind of, that's an overall what's going on.
So for the bonuses that you were just talking about, the grant, that's a one-time funding of bonuses?
So that's the way it is originally written. In one of the buckets, it says bonuses is sort of a one-time jump.
Okay.
One of the union attorneys and town managers are now debating a question that originally there was these 5 buckets of money, 5 buckets you can use. One was for healthcare expenses, one for those bonuses, one was for infrastructure, those kind of things, right? There's a debate going on among managers now, and me and Becky and the town attorney are looking at it. But a couple of the managers were saying that the state has now said, one of the buckets was called lost revenue. So if the town lost revenue as a result of COVID, that our taxation went down, and that's only a short-term problem because it's gonna go back up once COVID's over,
Yeah,
you can use this money for that lost revenue.
okay.
Now, Becky and I analyzed that Becky analyzed it in the beginning and found that we really didn't lose any revenue in Rutland.
Mhm.
So we felt we couldn't apply under that bucket because we didn't lose any revenue. What the managers are debating now, they're saying that the state has made a ruling, or federal government has made a ruling, is that you can use up to $10 million of ARPA money for lost revenue automatically. You don't have to justify if you had lost revenue or not. Which then opens that money to be spent on anything.
Right.
And that's what the unions are arguing, that if that's true, you can spend it on wages. But the bad part of spending it on wages is, once that money's gone, you built yourself a hole, right?
It's back in the
So,
budget.
so that's the discussion that's going on now, and I don't have an answer yet, because we're still analyzing. I would fight like hell that we don't use ARPA to build base wages.
Right.
I'm okay with the concept of bonuses, and I'm
Right.
talking to the select
But
board
the
about
bonus
it.
is a one-time deal.
Right, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So that's the whole discussion going on now, and I don't have the absolute answer yet. But my whole drive to the Board of Selectmen, if we do anything, and it's not absolute, Board of Selectmen doesn't have to give any of that money out for bonuses.
Right.
But if we do, that would be the course. Bonuses, not continuous
Got it,
wages.
got it.
Okay?
And that's, bonuses are based on a yearly
No.
salaried employee?
It's based upon hourly wage, based upon the time you worked during the time that COVID started to date. So let's
Hours
assume
worked.
the police department did 14,000 hours from this date to that date, certain hours. You could give bonuses on an hourly basis based on that. So you could give every employee for every hour they worked through that time period $1 extra an hour, up to a maximum of 25,000. So that's how it can be done. Now, it's also confusing, what's really confusing about that is they made essentially all town workers essential workers now. Because if you're, for instance, me or my clerk or secretary or whatever, we dealt with customers all through the COVID thing whenever we were open, so we had expressed live, potential to get COVID too, because we had to stay open.
Right.
Where a lot of businesses closed. So that's why all employees are done. Now, the question that gets really subjective and confusing is, now police, or the ambulance guys, we'll talk about them, because they were the most in jeopardy. They went out and actually picked up patients who had COVID-19, right? So they were at the biggest risk. Should they get the same bonus as dispatchers, who their risk was only when firemen and policemen came in dispatch, right? They weren't taking patients. So do you give the police a $2 bonus, do you give the firemen a $1 bonus, do you give dispatch 50 cents, do you give town workers 50 cents? How do you distribute what that, it's all very confusing and complicated and very subjective. And believe me, no matter what you give everybody, they're gonna be pissed off because they're gonna think they should have gotten more.
Of course.
So it's gonna be a real mess to try to figure out how that's done. And everybody's gonna struggle statewide with how that's done, but it's, mark my words, nobody will be happy with the end result of whatever we get. Even though they're getting bonuses, they're gonna compare against each other and who got what, and it's gonna be crazy, crazy.
Yep, I agree.
Is there anything else for Mr. Moriarty?
Yeah.
Everybody's happy with his presentation?
Yep.
Nothing from 10?
So,
Okay, Mike,
what
you're
do you
off the hook.
You think so? You're all set, that's the end of your agenda, right?
Um,
You have other budget discussion?
No, yeah, you're fine.
Me?
You're all set.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Oh,
you. Have a good night.
Mike.
Yep, no problem.
Good night.
Don't forget your candy.
Yeah,
Your
Thank you.
sorry.
That's good. No problem, so I didn't know.
Last night, the Board of Selectmen put it into effect that our town meeting will be held at 4 o'clock on Saturday, May 7th. The goal is to push through all the warrant articles and then all of the bylaw warrant articles.
It's gonna be a long night.
So
Long night.
bring, lunch bag, because we're gonna be there a while. So, just wanted to let you know,
Is it every
6 chapters.
of how many?
I say 7 chapters
I have
last
no
night.
idea. I have no idea.
I thought Peter said 7 chapters.
Is that all complete?
I don't know. But he was saying something about
Anyway, it's all the bylaw changes. When it comes all down, that's what they're gonna put all those warrant articles and what it's going
What I'm
to.
asking,
Yeah, I don't
is
know.
it complete?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can ask that.
Peter, is that complete?
Okay. We can ask that at another time. I'm letting you folks know to put it on your calendar that 4 o'clock
Yeah.
is when the meeting starts. We will need to usually be there an hour before. So our meeting will be here at 3 o'clock.
Why don't we just make it 10 or 11 and we'll ruin the whole day?
I get it.
Who thought that was a good idea, going at 4 o'clock? Nobody has any, I'm not getting a bonus, why is that? Why does everybody think that my life should be impacted by a town meeting at 4 o'clock?
This is on,
You're gonna serve
on
us
Saturday.
something.
It's on a Saturday.
What's that?
They mean they're gonna serve supper.
Oh, the done service.
Oh.
Pizza delivery?
No.
Pizza delivery.
Okay.
Anyway.
And
$1 an hour.
it will be held at Glenwood. So there will be lots of people stuck in that very small gymnasium. So
So
plan it accordingly.
do they expect a large turnout?
No.
Our annual town meetings usually have pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
Who
But-
knows? It all depends.
But a lot of times that's because there are contentious items there,
Right,
like the
depends
budget.
Depends
If
on
the
The
budget
budget.
is
on the
really.
warrant.
Well, we usually get a lot of people regardless for the budget, and then, you
Right,
know, so.
are they going, do you think that, do they think, no, maybe, I'm just looking at it.
Mhm.
That subject, the bylaws, are going to be so dry. I just wonder how many people are going to decide to stick around. I mean,
That is a,
There will be trouble keeping a quorum.
yeah,
there won't be
Well-
a trouble keeping a quorum because the selectmen, the clerk, the finance committee, and the moderator, that pretty much makes the quorum.
well, what's the quorum? Quorum's only 15?
10?
10?
Yeah, anyway, it's,
For the whole
it's
town?
10 or 15,
No,
yeah,
after
they're
the
gonna
school
change it, they
budget,
wanna
it'll
change it to
thin out.
30, it's small.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted you all to know that it's been decided, it's 4 o'clock, I wanna prepare you guys in advance to write that on your calendars, don't plan anything fun to do that day, cause you have to be at a town meeting.
Can we leave and go get something to eat and come in?
Whatever
Sure,
you-
you can do whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
I recommend bringing something comfortable to sit
Got it,
on,
got
because
it.
those chairs to sit on for any length of time.
Yeah, these are better.
Yeah, so, just wanted to make sure everybody was aware.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay,
O'Malley, aye.
Raz, aye. Trushala, aye.
Winika, aye.
Ted
Purcell, aye.
and Narwhal, aye. Adjourned. Thank you.
Excellent.